Here are 9 harsh fat loss tips that no one wants to hear in 2025. Number 1, obesity is not about genetics, it's about epigenetics. The food you eat and your environment are going to be the biggest determining factors whether or not you're going to gain weight, lose weight, or maintain your weight. If I were to put you in a room right now with a bunch of people who eat McDonald's all the time, are super sedentary, or lazy, the chances of you becoming like those people are going to be very, very high. Whereas if I were to put you in a different room with a bunch of people who have six-pack abs, we're super physically active, eat nothing but whole, unprocessed foods, eat a high-protein diet, they prioritize their sleep, and they're living this active, healthy lifestyle, the chances of you also being like them are also going to be very, very high. And so we often like to blame our genetics for us not being in a situation that we want to be in. But if we actually take a bird's eye view and actually look at our environment, is our environment conducive towards us actually being in good physical shape? Because oftentimes the people who I talk to the most who are overweight or obese or just not in the shape that they want to be in, they're likely not in an environment to make it easy for themselves. So one of the biggest things that I preach all the time on my social media pages is that you do not need more willpower. You do not need more discipline. You just need to prime your environment to make the healthy choice the easy choice. Because if I were to go into your kitchen right now and I open up the fridge, I open up the pantry, and I'm just bombarded by hyper palatable processed foods like Pop-Tarts, cookies, chips, frozen pizzas, you name it, it's going to be pretty difficult for me to eat healthy and be at a low body weight. Whereas if you go into my kitchen, for example, and you are just surrounded by nothing but salads, greens, proteins, meal prepped meals, water, fruits, veggies, and all this healthy stuff, well, if you wanted to eat unhealthy, it'd be pretty darn difficult. Because now, realistically speaking, for myself at least, if I wanted to eat junk food, for example, there's going to be a lot of steps involved towards me actually making that happen. Because I have nothing in my environment right now that actually makes it easy for me to do that. So the next logical step for me will be to, of course, I could order Uber Eats or something, or I could just go into my car, drive 20 minutes to the grocery store or wherever I want to go, and then have to get the food and then drive all the way back. So it's like, what, a 40-minute commute just to eat that junk food? Whereas if I were to be really hungry, all I have to do right now is just go into my kitchen, open up the fridge, grab my meal prep, microwave it for a minute, and then boom, there you go. Super easy. And so instead of blaming your genetics for you being out of shape, I want you to look more thoroughly in your environment. And oftentimes, and this is the sad reality, where a lot of obese people are in an environment where they're also alongside other obese people. And so if you can just change that, you're more than likely going to change the way you look as well. Number 2, the people who say tracking your food is a waste of time are the exact same people who binge watch Netflix every single night for 3 hours a day. And also, if it's a priority for you, you'll make time for it one way or another. And so oftentimes, without realizing it or not, watching TV every single night tends to be a higher priority for the majority of the people than it is to take the extra 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to learn on how to actually track their food intake to ensure that they can actually be in a calorie deficit for fat loss to occur. Number 3, this is a big one, and this is going to rub a lot of feathers. But if you are out of shape, your kids will most likely be out of shape as well. It's not because of the genetics, like I explained in my first point, but it's because of the examples that you set for them. When I grew up as a kid, I pretty much mirrored exactly what my parents did. And luckily for me, and I'm very blessed for this, my mom was a fitness instructor and she had a lot of great healthy habits. She encouraged us to play sports. She encouraged us to eat fruits and veggies. Although I was a pretty chubby kid and I was definitely a bad kid where I would sneak in desserts, I would sneak in candy all the time. But for the majority of the time, we were still eating healthy foods, healthy dinners, healthy lunches, somewhat healthy breakfasts. And so parents really lead by example. And so if you want your kids to be healthy, the easiest thing that you can do instead of telling them what to eat, actually showing them through your actions on what to eat. Because we have a really difficult time listening to people who don't actually practice what they preach. I would never personally hire a coach who is out of shape, especially if my goal is to lose weight. I want to hire a coach who has six-pack abs. Same thing if I want to get rich, I'm going to hire someone, I'm going to invest into someone who actually knows how to get rich. If I go into the dentist and this dentist tells me all about clean teeth, but then when I look at their teeth, they're super dirty and rotten, I'm more than likely not going to listen to that person, right? Even if their information is correct, I will still have a more difficult time taking their feedback. So if you want to change other people's behavior, it all starts within yourself and you have to lead by example. Number 4, and this one is massive as well, tracking your food isn't a food eating disorder, just like tracking your finances isn't a spending disorder. I say this all the time to my clients and to everyone on social media, but what gets measured gets improved. And so if you ain't tracking, you are slacking. If you're not keeping track of your nutrition, of your calories, of your macros, of your weight, how do you actually know if you're making progress or not? If I were to tell you right now, hey, go and lose 20 pounds, are you just gonna never weigh yourself ever again? I mean, that sounds so silly. In order for you to actually know if you've lost the 20 pounds, you should probably keep track of it and measure it probably every single day to actually see if you're going towards the right direction. Because let's say a week in, 2 weeks in, and you notice that the weight's actually going up, well then clearly that is giving you great feedback that what you're doing right now is not working. So you should be making some adjustments along the way. And the exact same thing applies with tracking your food. If right now you're not keeping track of your food and you're gaining weight, well, what should be the first thing that you should start doing? You should more than likely start tracking your food intake to actually, first of all, know how many calories you're consuming. And then based on that, you can make whatever adjustments you can make to put you in a calorie deficit. And a quick little tip here, if you want to lose 1 pound of fat per week, you should be in a 500 calorie deficit per day, but you'll put you in a 3,500 calorie deficit for the week. And 1 pound of fat has 3,500 calories. So 1 pound of fat lost will be a 3,500 calorie deficit for the week. And so let's say your maintenance calories, you're tracking your food right now and you're maintaining your weight at around 2,000 calories. Well, if you want to lose 1 pound of fat per week, then you can either increase your energy expenditure through your cardio or just simply decrease 500 calories from your diet through your nutrition. By me explaining that to you, hopefully it makes a lot of sense for you to start tracking your food intake, because it takes all the guesswork out of the equation and you know exactly that if I hit these numbers, I will therefore get X result. Whereas if I were to not keep track of my food and I did not keep track of my weight, I'd just be like this random person floating, no idea where I am, no idea what I'm doing, no idea if I'm making progress or not. So if you want to save a bunch of time and a bunch of years, track your food. Number 5, the goal is not to lose weight. The goal should rather be to lose body fat. There is a huge difference here, because oftentimes whenever I hear people say they want to lose weight, that often implies that both they're trying to lose body fat, which is good, then also, which is what we not want, lose muscle mass as well. Whereas losing body fat strictly means that we're just trying to lose the body fat while maintaining, if not building, some muscle along the way. Because unless your goal is to look like a skinny fat person with low muscle mass and low body fat, kind of like that 𝗪𝘀 look or Slenderman look, which honestly no one really wants. It's also pretty unhealthy to be at a low body fat percentage, but then also having low muscle mass. Whereas instead, whenever people say they want to lose weight, I often assume that they just want to like look nice and lean, have like an athletic build, and oftentimes that also requires you to have at least a bit of muscle on your frame as well. You're going to look a lot healthier, you're going to feel a lot better as well, and you're going to be a lot healthier overall as well. And so in order for us to do this is by making sure that we're not in a super big calorie deficit. We want to not slash 1,000 calories from our diet right from day one. We want to do it more of a moderate deficit, 250 to 500 calories, so we can lose around half a pound to a pound a week. But then alongside that, making sure that we also eat a high protein diet to ensure that we're preserving all of our muscle mass, and we complement that by actually resistance training, working out, exercising, hitting each muscle group at least 2 times per week, and also making sure that we're trying our best to progressively overload. Whether that is adding more weights to the exercises every single week, adding more reps to the exercises every single week, doing a combination of both. Whatever you can do to slightly get better week after week will ensure that you're actually challenging your muscles for them to continue growing as you're trying to lose the body fat through your diet. Unless you want to end up looking skinny fat, I highly encourage you to be in a slight calorie deficit and complement that with a high protein diet while resistance training and implementing progressive overloads to get your desired look. Number 6, and I said this already, but I'll tell you again, if you want to get into phenomenal shape, then you have to weigh yourself and keep track of your metrics. What gets measured gets improved. And so just like I said in my previous example of actually tracking your food intake, you also have to track your metrics in terms of your body fat percentage, but specifically the number on the scale, and then also your progress pictures, right? Because oftentimes if you're in a situation where you're kind of skinny fat and you're trying to like both gain more muscle but then also lose body fat, the number on the scale may not necessarily reflect you making progress or not, because you could be starting very well at 150 pounds and then 12 weeks later still weigh 150 pounds, but then if you look at your progress pictures, right, you actually may notice a huge change, and that is what we call a body recomposition, where you're pretty much maintaining the same weight. It may go up and down plus or minus 5 or 10 pounds, but your body composition in terms of the way you look is hopefully going to be a lot more different. You'll notice that you're going to have less body fat, but then you replace that with higher muscle mass. And so the number on the scale may not change necessarily a whole lot, but the way you visually look, the way you feel, the way your clothes fit, your energy levels could be a night and day difference. And so that is why the more things you measure, the more ways that you can win as well. Because if you were to only rely on just the number on the scale, it doesn't paint the full picture, because there's so much else that is involved when it comes to a transformation like this, especially if you find yourself in a situation where you're both trying to lose body fat but then also wanting to build up muscle at the same time. Number 7, and this is going to hurt a lot of people, but your body is a direct reflection of your daily habits. If you don't like how you look right now, then change change the way you live. Whenever I walk in public, and I think that I do this subconsciously, but I can tell a lot by a person based on the way they look and based on how they carry themselves. If I see someone walking on the street and they're kind of slouched over, they're looking down on their phone, they're kind of like crippled, they have their hands in their pockets, I can tell right away that they're low in confidence and insecure about themselves, right? Whereas if I see another person who has their shoulders braced backwards, he's taking big leaps when he's walking, he has that swagger around him, I can tell right away that this guy is in phenomenal shape. Same thing when I go to the beach and I see someone that's out of shape. That tells me a lot about their eating habits. It probably tells me that they're probably not super hardworking. It probably tells me that they're not super disciplined, not just when it comes to their health and fitness, but that can also carry through maybe other things in their life, whether it's with their relationships, whether it's with their job or with their money or with whatever it may be, right? Whereas if I were to see a person who is in phenomenal shape, he has six-pack abs, I mean, yes, it tells me that they're in great physical shape and that they actually take care of themselves, but there's so many other things associated with someone who's actually in phenomenal shape. It means that they're hardworking. It means that they can delay their gratification, because obviously building a phenomenal body isn't an overnight thing. It actually takes time. It takes sacrifice. It takes not just months, oftentimes it takes years of just consistent, honestly boring work of just doing the same thing over and over again, eating healthy, eating their protein, tracking their food. They probably have amazing sleeping habits. They're probably really good with their money too. They probably have phenomenal relationships. They probably have a lot of self-love. There's so many things involved in having a great body. And so whenever I see someone that's in phenomenal shape, it doesn't just tell me that they are in great physical shape. It often tells me that there are also all these other amazing things that I just listed out. And so if you're right now in a situation where you're not really too happy with your body, it probably carries through other things in life, right? Because if you're in very bad shape, it probably means that you're kind of lethargic. It probably means that you have low energy levels, and it probably carries through to your work, to your career, and you're probably not willing to work as hard when it comes to your job. Whereas if you were to change your habits and actually get into great shape, you'll notice that you're going to have higher energy levels, which can therefore help you do more productive work, which therefore can help you earn a raise for your work, and you can actually get richer. You can actually give back to your family, give back to your friends, and now your kids can actually look up to you. So again, it all kind of trickles down by you actually taking care of yourself, you changing your own life, which then trickles down to so many other things in life that you do as well. Number 8, you do not need more information, you need more action. Everything, and I mean everything, you can find online for free. We live right now in an information society, and whatever we want to learn, we can just go into ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, can you write me a meal plan? Can you create me a workout program? Here's my current schedule. Here are my current goals. Please provide this to me. And especially if you ask it the right questions, it can give you a crazy amount of answers. Google, same thing. You can go on Google, you can go on YouTube, you can do anything right now, and it'll spit out a lot of information. And oftentimes, I agree, yes, it can be kind of overwhelming, but I never want to hear anyone say that the reason that they're not in great phenomenal shape is because they don't know what to do. Of course you know what to do. You're a simple Google search away, you're a simple ChatGPT prompt away from actually getting the information you need. But then it begs the question, with all this information out there, why are 70% of Americans still overweight or obese? It's not because they lack the information, it's because they lack the accountability. Because if you actually had someone there to tell you that, hey, with all this information, make sure you actually do this and execute it, the chances of you actually doing it are going to be a lot higher. Whereas what I found with a lot of people is that they lack self-accountability. And so oftentimes you probably need this from an external source, whether it's a family member or it's a close friend of yours, or better yet, it's a mentor or a personal trainer or an online coach who can actually help you take that first step and actually get you going. Because I see this all the time where a lot of people know what to do. I get on sales calls, I get on calls, and people somewhat know what to do, but then yet they're still stuck 50 pounds overweight, 100 pounds overweight. And it's like, how is that even possible? Why is that the case? And yes, it all comes down to lack of accountability. So make sure that with the information that you have right now, that you actually get someone to hold you accountable so you can actually follow through on your promises. And oftentimes, if you can have your friends do it or your family members do it, it means actually putting skin in the game, drawing a line in the sand, and actually investing into a mentor or a coach. And number 9 to end up this video is to stop trying to get in shape in 6 weeks, in 8 weeks, in 12 weeks, because the goal is to get in shape once so you never have to worry about it again. And that unfortunately takes some time. It is very common right now for a lot of people to follow challenges in the new year. I see a lot of times this 75 hard challenge go around the TikTok and Instagram algorithms. I think it's encouraging for a lot of people to kind of showcase kind of like a challenge. It's motivating, it's cool, this and that. But I mean, what happens after the 75-day hard challenge, or what happens after the 6-week challenge? More than likely, you're going to slowly but surely go back to your old ways again, go back to your old habits again, and then before you know it, you're back to square one again. Whereas if you just delay the time frame and give yourself a lot more time to actually follow through and do this thing, you'll notice that you're not going to be in such a big rush, and that you actually take your time with this, and then slowly but surely actually develop the habits necessary, not just to get you to the results that you want to get to, but then actually being able to maintain those results. Because as you've taken your time with this, you're actually starting to build up those habits, and you can actually turn into the person who can not just get a six-pack, but then also maintain a six-pack through the habits that you formed during this transformation. So stop trying to rush things. And know it's exciting, and know it's sexy, I know it's cool seeing all these cool challenges, 6-week challenge, 75-day hard, but I encourage you to not do that, and instead just take it one step at a time. This is a marathon and not a race. And so if you can just slowly but surely, week after week, just add one healthy habit into your daily routine, whether it's drinking more water, implementing a morning routine, a night routine, getting your 8 hours of sleep in, going on more walks, taking more steps, exercising, not 6 days a week, but starting maybe just once a week, getting a gym membership, maybe not eating healthy all the time, but maybe 20% of the time, and then 50% of the time, and then 80% of the time. And then I can start tracking my food, and then I can start maybe implementing more protein, and then I can start doing this, and then I can start doing that. And then before you know it, after taking all these small little steps, you're actually starting to take some major leaps. And then over the course of like months and years of doing this, you're going to start to see some huge tangible results in your body, in the way your clothes fit, in the way you feel. So do not rush the process. Take your time with this, because the entire point of fitness isn't just to get fit and then go back to your old ways again. It is hopefully, for the majority of you guys watching this, it's to not just get fit, but it's to stay fit. Not just for X amount of time, but for the rest of your life. And if you need help actually implementing all of this information that I've given you, and you actually need that accountability to get you going with this, I encourage you to schedule a free fitness consultation call with us down below. We'll basically see where you're at right now, and we'll create a game plan together to help you absolutely crush your goals for the year of 2025 and beyond. So with that out of the way, I'm going to let you guys go. Any questions for me, please let me know, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.